Hey, it's so good to be here. And I'm Ann Wilson, the Wealth Chef, and we're in the middle of the fabulous New World of Wealth workshop. This is a 2-week deep dive when I introduce you into the world of wealth, what it takes to create real sustainable wealth. How do you actually get assets, investments working for you? How do you learn how to become a wealthy spender and really get maximum value from the money that flows out of your life? Because you realize that your wealth is created by the decisions you make for your money, where you direct it, not what you earn. How to break free of debt, the different asset class and how to invest in them. We have been having an absolute ball. And also part of this is all part of opening up registration for Financial Freedom University. Yes, registration for Financial Freedom University 2021 is open right now. We've got an amazing group of people joining Financial Freedom University. I can't wait to dive in, get stuck in, walk by their side on this amazing journey, taking them through everything that they need to have in place to get their money working for them, to create their own financial freedom. And one of the really important skills in creating wealth and living wealth and remaining and being wealthy is learning how to make empowered decisions. Empowered decisions around your time, your money, your energy, really getting clear on what is a yes and no for you in a way that can be congruent and aligned and authentic, and one that you can really drop into and trust or rely on, not sort of second guess, should I, shouldn't I have, or feeling guilty that, did I knee jerk into that? What should I do? Because one of the things you realize, and hopefully you're starting to see, creating wealth and being wealthy, first, it's a way of being. It's not a one-off event. It's an ecosystem. Your wealth is provided by this ecosystem, this portfolio of assets, but also a set of habits and systems and automations you put in your life. But also a key part of how do you master this extraordinary thing called your brain, yourself, the meaning you give to things, how you make decisions, how you direct and give leadership to your money. And my team have been sharing since we opened registration for Financial Freedom University how many people have been contacting them, and they're sitting on the fence and in indecision and agony of indecision. And that's what it is really. When we are undecided about something, anything in our life, it can really feel like agony. In fact, it can be a bit like sitting on a barbed wire fence with those bits of wire poking in not very comfortable places. And so we've been just so touched by so many people connecting. Many people saying, I'm not sleeping well, tossing and turning, debating. Is this right for me? Is this the right program? Am I overwhelmed? Where is this coming from? Will I have the time to do the work and what needs to be put in? Can I afford this? How do I tell my spouse or my partner? Can I really give myself permission to have what I know that I need? And some of you have even been debating about if you will do the work. I know these questions only so well. And I remember being there many times in my life until I really learned the skills of how to make empowered decisions that I could completely sit and be with. And so I'm going to take you through how to make empowered decisions that you can use. Yes, for, is Financial Freedom University 2021 right for you? How do you make that decision? But this is a set of skills that will serve you in life, that I really would encourage you to take notes, write down, and apply this to FFU, if you're considering if this is right for you, but also to just anything else that's going on. And this process has really transformed my life. And as I master myself and I teach this to others, this mastery, this expanding you as the greatest asset you have is so important. Keeping becoming, a better decision maker, more efficient and effective at the things you do in your life, squeezing the juice from all of the stuff you have in your life, your time, your energy, and your money. Because it's just those three things really are the three ingredients we have to create and live extraordinary lives, or just to drift and float around if we don't know how to get the most of those and really squeeze the juice. Often, those same questions, do I have the time? Do I have the money? What about my partner think? What about these other similar kind of questions that come up when we face big decisions? Because really there are only four core barriers that we need to overcome or consider when we're making big choices. When we're unconsciously heading on the wrong path, we can use ignorance as a comforter as to why we don't, make that decision, or why we don't go a direction. But once we know we're on the wrong path and something else has been shown to us as a way for us to get what we want, to have the transformation we seek, it is really important that we stop and make an informed decision so that we can determine, am I going to stay on that path that I'm on? And if so, on what basis? Do I truly understand the costs of this choice, the risk that I'm taking, but also the benefits of that? If to not go through this and just continue on a path we're on because that's our comfort zone, that's what's familiar with us, then that is actually self-abuse. As I said before, the Latin origin of the word decide comes from discedere, which means to cut off, to settle, to sever, to find settlement. And the agony of decision comes from leaving too many options open. Well, maybe tomorrow I'll look at it, if, then, when. So I decided to do this and jump in here and give you a bonus training in the World of Wealth workshop on how to make empowered decisions. So it's so great to see many of you here. And so let's dive right in, how to make empowered decisions. Get that notepad, get some water. I find a clear path to navigating your way around a big decision is often something we're never taught in life. So I hope what I'm about to share with you is really valuable for you, and it's going to help you not just today, it's going to help you not with just your decision about joining Financial Freedom University, but anytime you face a fork in the road. And we are constantly making those choices. So often we think that our destiny is defined by those big decisions we make, what job we take, whether we marry or we don't marry, where we live. But actually, our destiny is created by moment choices, decisions we make. And so the better we can get at that, the healthier we can get, the wealthier we go, and we can get the life that we want. So, so much easier and better, and with ease, because we also don't get stuck in that agony. Now, the first thing I know, that fear around big decisions is totally normal. I think often we can think if something is right for us, there shouldn't be any anxiety, there shouldn't be nervousness, there shouldn't be fear. Hell no, absolutely. Often, the decisions that really are transforming for us are the ones that can bring up a lot of fear and anxiety, like a little bit of like, oh shit. And this is important. Big decisions should evoke that in us, because big decisions can have the capacity to completely transform our lives, to completely change the trajectory of where we're going. About 18 months ago, well, what a bit longer, because the process had been longer, I had to make a really big decision. I made a decision to end a 20-year marriage to a really lovely man who I had an amazing companionship with. But when I really dropped in and I used this process to go, is this my truth? Is this where I need to be going? I mean, it was a scary, big decision. It had lots of consequences. There were many, many things. And I used this very process. And, I now, 2 years later, 18 months later from when it finally ended, I am so grateful that I have these tools of liberation, these tools of enabling me to keep moving forward to my more and more authentic, wealthy life. I'll share right now, I'm deeply in love. Who would you imagine? I would have met someone, but sometimes, and when I made that decision, it wasn't, necessary to meet somebody else, but I had to move forward. I had to close doors to open other doors. I had to make decisions to move forward. And this is when we really get to understand the power of being able to make empowered yeses and nos, and then move through those doors, even when they scare us, is so, so important. So a big decision symbolizes so much more than just a simple yes or no. There's a path to get there that is so much more complicated, or at least it can seem that way wherever you're sitting. And maybe many of you are feeling that way with Financial Freedom University. It is a big decision. So let's use that one as an example, and let's just take a deep breath in. Maybe think of a decision that you're contemplating right now, and then let it out. Always, breath is always important. You always want to have oxygen, have food in your body. Don't be hangry or tired. That's also key. Don't try and make decisions in those spaces. But let's say you're physically in a good space, you're hydrated, you're breathing. Now let's go into the process. So the very first thing you want to do is get clarity. And there's a set of questions that I ask myself. And I'm going to suggest you write these down and you ask them. So if you're deciding whether an opportunity is right for you, or which path to take, I encourage you to ask these set of questions. And, write them down. Maybe afterwards I can share them in the post. We do share a lot of these skill sets in Financial Freedom University. So first question, number one. So this is all about how to make a decision. So the very first question you're going to do is a scale of 1 to 10. Now, 1 is not so much, and 10 is you feel very strongly about that. You just have this strong desire to make this happen. So 1, nah, could leave it. 10, yes, very, very strongly. I want to make this decision. I know it can transform my life. And so those are the scales. So the first question is, if there was nothing to stop you, if there was nothing to stop you, there was no limitation or worry, how strongly do you desire to take this next step? So if you haven't yet joined Financial Freedom University 2021, think about that. Right now, how strongly is the desire to join Financial Freedom University 2021? And if there was no obstacle in the way, what would that be? Would it be a 1? Nah. 10, yes, really, really a strong desire to make this happen because I know that, will make such a difference in my life. And anywhere in between. So that is your first decision. Really get clear on your desire. Letting go of all of the yeah buts. First, just get clear, is there a very strong pull here? Now, here's a great tip. So if you're making this decision and you notice when you just ask yourself this question, 1 to 10, where am I on this? If you're a 5 or lower, if you go, yeah, I'm a 5, can take it. Yeah, leave it 1, if you're not. 3, I suppose it could be quite nice. 5, yeah, but, I'm not, there's no urgency or I'm not really feeling a strong desire. Then trust that and know that this opportunity isn't for you. Really, in that, you can then do some soul searching as to why you want to take the next step and get clear on that first. Why did this decision even come up for you? Why are you sitting in indecision around this? Because if your desire is a 5 or less, that's telling you, even if you were to try and make that decision or make a yes, it's mostly not going to happen for you because you need to have that commitment or that desire to make it so. So this is question 1. I feel a strong desire to make this happen, to join Financial Freedom University or whatever that decision is. If a 10 is a hell yes, strong desire, 1 is nah, not at all, somewhere in between. So this is really key and this is really useful. Trust those elements. So sometimes we can go, but I should desire, shouldn't desire. Let that go. Trust that scale. Now, if you're a 5 or up, then you can go to the next question. So the next question is, why? What would have to be true for your desire to move to a 10? So let's say you're a 6. You can ask yourself, okay, so I'm sitting on a 6 with this decision towards the yes, go for it, whatever that is, that choice you're wanting to make. What would have to be true in order to make this an absolute 10, a hell yes, a sort of no-brainer? And notice then what comes up. Often this will tell you some of your objections, your obstacles that you believe are in the way. This is a really good way to get clarity. You can see, what are you believing are the obstacles? What are the challenges for you? So you can go, well, I need, permission from my partner or my spouse. Notice that permission piece. If you remember, you always want to bless and not permission, but we'll get more into that more. You would need maybe the money. You'd need the time. You'd need to clear up some space. So you can get clear on what would need to be true for your desire to move to a 10. So that's question number 2. So hopefully you're answering this for yourself. And then number 3, what would make this opportunity worth the investment for you? What would make this opportunity worth the cost for you? For me, the cost was end of a marriage. The cost was halving my net worth. The cost was multiple things, decisions. When I was speaking about, ending my marriage, I mean, that's a big decision. But if you're choosing Financial Freedom University, what would make this opportunity worth the investment for you? Would it be having a portfolio of assets that earned all the income for you? Would it being free of consumer debt? Would it no longer having any financial worries? Would it knowing for certain that you're going to be okay in the future financially, and you're never going to end up, sitting on a park bench or sleeping under a bridge, which so many people have this fear about, that they're going to end up destitute. So what would make this opportunity worth the investment for you? So now that you've got that, you just note it and take those notes down. Now, the next thing you do is we can map these out on what I call the clarity quadrant. So I'm going to share that in the stream, and you'll see there is this 4-part grid. And you're going to map out and ask yourself this, okay, so now you've asked yourself those questions. What would have to be true for this to be a hell yes? And what would make this opportunity worth it for me? So you've taken those notes. Now you ask yourself, okay, these 4 questions, and you map them and you write them down here. What is the potential risk of doing this? What is the potential risk of this decision? And note down, see what comes up, because this is how you start having a dialogue with yourself. You start building a strong relationship with yourself. You're actually listening to you. And you go, what's the potential risk of doing this? Well, the risk is, maybe I don't show up and do the work. Maybe the risk is I don't get the benefit I hope. The risk is, paying money and not getting value for it. Whatever that risk is for you, the risk is your partner being pissed off with you because you buy courses and you don't pitch up for them. Whatever that is, what is that potential risk for you? Is the risk also, the potential risk is that you create your financial freedom, and maybe some of the friends you have in your life don't like you anymore. Maybe they've got some story around what it is to be wealthy. Maybe, they've got beliefs, only greedy people have wealth. What is the other potential risk for you? Is it the risk that suddenly family will come out of the woodwork, or people you didn't even know, and ask for money? Keep asking yourself, if I were to create financial freedom, what is the risk? What's the risk of creating my financial freedom? What is the risk of becoming financially empowered? See what comes up for you. It's fascinating. For me, it was, what's the risk of, ending this marriage? Well, I'm going to halve my net worth. What else is the risk? That maybe I sort of regret it. Whatever that is, notice that the risk was maybe that I've got no excuse not to, do other things in my life. So that's the first question. Then you've got to go, what's the potential benefit or payoff for doing this? So think about Financial Freedom University. What's the potential benefit or payoff for you doing it? Hey, I can become a confident investor. I get clear of any debt. I no longer have financial worries. I know how my entire financial blueprint comes together. I have assets and investments that work for me. Drop those all down. Great. Then you go to the third quadrant. So here, the potential risk, and go, what is the potential risk of not doing this? And this can sometimes be uncomfortable, because we've got to go, okay, what is the potential risk of not doing this? And I also encourage you to what's called future pace. What's the potential of me not doing this in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 4 years, in the next 5 years? What's the risk of not transforming my financial well-being ever? What's the risk to me, to my relationship, to my health, to my kids? Really, explore the different areas of your life. What is the risk of you not doing this? Again, I'll use the example of in my life of, and I'm using the example of my marriage. It was like, what's the potential risk of me not doing this? The risk was I got, more bitter, and that I lashed out. The risk was never, compromising in my life, and feeling like a sense of betrayal. The risk was never being open or available for maybe, an extraordinary love in my life. And the risk was holding on to stuff and playing small and shrinking. So, what is that risk for not doing this in your life? Because when we can really get clear on that, it's often deeply empowering. Because often we think about the cost in terms of financially, we think about the loss to ourselves, we might think about some of the benefits, but often going, what's the risk of not doing this is really huge. And I often find that really powerful, and it can quite sometimes be deeply emotional, because we really have to go, wow, am I prepared to live my life that way? Am I prepared to go to my grave potentially that way? This precious life that I have, am I prepared to, pay that price of not doing this? And then you go to the fourth quadrant and go, what's the potential benefit or payoff of not doing this? And this is really interesting because this is where we almost get to out ourselves. This is where we get to see our comfort zone. And I go, what's the potential benefit or payoff of not doing this? Maybe it's I don't have to go out of my comfort zone. I can stay with my familiar comfort. The friends I have, we can all bitch and moan about being poor or in debt or not knowing how to do this. I don't have to, confront some of my spend habits or what's really going on in my world, in my relationship. I say, well, I've got the comfort of the devil I know, not that he is devil, but I don't have to harm my net worth. I can keep that. All these different elements, when we can really go, oh, what's really going on here, and what's potential benefit of not doing it. For me and my marriage was, I don't have all the hassle of doing the admin and the process of separating two lives after such a long time. So what is the potential benefit of not doing this? Yes, if you don't do Financial Freedom University, you're not going to have to spend the time on sorting out your finances. You're not going to have to look at what's going on in your world. And so when we really get clear and go, oh, okay, that's what the benefit of not doing something is really, really useful. So once you've answered these three first questions and you've got those scales of 1 to 10, you do your clarity quadrants, and hopefully you've even been answering these questions for yourself. Pauline said more knowledge and experience, going through. Ilza says 100% on a 10 on scale. So when we can just sit with, and what's super important when we're doing this, feel your feels, feel what comes up, but be careful you don't go into self-judgment and criticism. And so there's always an element of, can you be an observer of yourself and go, fascinating? Can you have a little bit of lightness of being? This is super important, because often if we get too judgmental and, oh God, I always do this or whatever, we just go into contraction and we go into our limbic system and we can't make informed decisions from there. We want to stay in our frontal cortex. We want to stay with ourselves. So now that you've done that, let me get rid of that again. Sorry, I've always got to look at where my little thing is. Now you can revisit that scale and you go, fascinating. Now I know what my potential barriers are. I know what I need to be true in order to take my desire and my want, my yes, to a 10. I know what needs to happen. What this investment is worth to me, what are the opportunities of this. I've answered those questions. I've understood the risks of doing it, not doing it, and the benefits and payoff of doing it and not doing it. And now I go, oh, fascinating. I've got so much more information in my hands now. Now I can look at that scale of 1 to 10 and ask myself again, how strongly do you desire to take the next step of this opportunity? Now, for many people, that scale would have either gone further down or further up, but it should have moved one way or the other. So again, if it's below 5, you go, great, I've got my information right now. This is not for me. And remember, a choice only ever has to be for now. It doesn't mean you can't revisit this in a month's time. Listen, with Financial Freedom University, we only open registration a certain period of time, but maybe other decisions, there's one like your marriage, which I was saying, maybe, you're not ready for that for whatever reason. You could go, okay, I'm making this decision based on having got clarity. No judgment, it just is. Let that be true. Make that decision. If it's a no, it's a no, move on. Now, if it's sitting still in that 6 and above, if it's now sitting in a 9 or 10, move forward. No matter how scary that feels, get the support you need. If you need a coach, if you need somebody to, hold on and support you on that, do it. Get a partner that you go, hang on, I need somebody to hold me accountable to this, because this is what the decision I'm needing to make, even if it feels scary, but you've got to walk through that door that scares you most. So if you know it's a 9 or 10, you move forward and you keep going on. And then you jump in and you work diligently and you do what needs to be done to bring that opportunity to life. And so you get transforming your life in this way. If you're joining Financial Freedom University is a 9 or a 10, having done this process, don't sit in agony any longer. Click that button, let that support team, help you, get you in. Actually, the team can put the link in now that, if you know that Financial Freedom University 2021 is for you, they will put that link in. Just join. Now, if you're between 6 and a 9 and you're still struggling to move forward, let's see what fear is standing in your way. In my experience, all the fears we experience around making decisions really fall into 4 of the same basic tracks. Okay, I see in the chat, Lynette, you're saying, where do I get a reminder? We're on live, so you don't need to get a reminder. The get a reminder button is to be on this call live. Great. So what are these 4 fears? These 4 primary fears that prevent us from making empowered transformative decisions are fear around time, fear around money, fear around the support of our loved ones, because our need to belong is so important. And then the fear of ourselves, confidence in ourselves, in our decision-making, and in our ability to be congruent and in integrity of the decisions we make, because in the past, we've maybe let ourselves down. And these are really important, especially if we've let ourselves down before. And quite frankly, as a human, often we have. So if you've taken any risk in your life, you're bound to have some failures. Some bad decisions are completely normal. And often I see the questions around making a decision to join Financial Freedom University are so much less about my commitment to you, my team's commitment to you, but they're so often more about your commitment to you. All too often the questions that we get are centered around, what will we do for you in the program? What are the call times? What are the Q&As? Do we get mentoring? But this often shows up as you debating the nuances of the program, poring over the details of the modules, the meeting dates, the start date, what's included. But if you peel back the layers, what you're often debating is, what will you do for you in Financial Freedom University? Will you show up for you? Will you do the work? And so often what you're really questioning and afraid to admit is whether you will, show up and make the commitment. The reality is, for this to work, for you to create your financial freedom, it is a mutual partnership. I assure you, I put in 100%. Actually, I put in 150% of my 50%. I come in fully, but you have to commit to put your 100% in, and your 50% of a partnership in everything in life, in anything you're going to do. If you want that transformation, if you want that result, you have to walk through that door. You've got to do those actions. As I said, freedom will not choose you. That's the point. Freedom of choice. You have to choose it and do what it takes to bring it to your life. This is the freedom reality. You are the head of the business called your life. Many times the only difference between your success and somebody else's is your level of commitment. And you've got to choose what to focus on. It's how we show up in life that determines the results we get. It's how committed you are. So what about the fear around time? When do you know if it's the right time? Is this the right time for you? What if you've just started your freedom journey? What if you're deep in debt? What if you don't have any investments? What if right now, due to COVID and pandemics, income flows are low? What if you're swamped with life's responsibilities? Things just feel really full. Maybe you're doing other courses. Maybe you're doing something. And it can feel overwhelming. You're going, and we're just coming to the vacation and holiday season, and there's Hanukkah and Christmas and New Year, and then 2021, and there's kids' exams and schoolings and whatever else. I've got business to do. While these seem like polar opposites, they're actually very similar fears. This is about trying to find the perfect time until you realize there is no perfect time for any decision. There is also no time like the present. In fact, we only ever have the present. Whether you're hungry for more assets or you're overwhelmed with the idea of what to do with those you have, whether it's about systems and processes, whether it's about strategies and support, whether it's about accountability and action, it's about your commitment. We are never short of time. We all only have 24 hours. It's what do we value that we do in that time? It's how well do we use that time? What do we show up for? You could delay this decision, but why would you? If you've determined that this is something that, is above a 5 in your desire, whatever this question is, when we realize this precious, extraordinary life we have, and by taking this direction, we want to transformation in our life, to improve our life, why would we delay the decisions to make those choices if we got clear on what the benefits are for us and we're clear that yes, we want to do it? Why would you delay getting the help, the knowledge, support to create your freedom if you know that's what you want? Why would you delay having the tools and the skill sets and the mentorship and the guidance and the coaching from me and that support and the rest of the community to transform this area of your life? Why would you try and do this alone and be that lone ranger when you can get there faster and surer? Because so often we assume that the fear around, do I have the time, is a warning that prevents us from doing something. In fact, we can think that fear is generally a warning, but we have to get really quiet with our fear and listen to our inner voice. Is it a fear of failure, or is this a fear of succeeding? Often they're two sides of the same coin. So you have to stop and take a deep breath and ask yourself, is it scarier to stay stuck and stay where I am and experience all of those risks and those costs of not doing this? Am I prepared to pay the price of staying in my familiar comfort zone, even though it's not very comfortable? Am I prepared to take the price of staying with my familiar suffering and live with my dreams unrealized? Or is it scarier to commit and get started right away, living and creating your freedom story and truly stepping into life that you're meant to be having? All it takes is one step. All it ever does, any choice we need to make is a yes or a no step, and we just keep taking those steps. Now, what about the next fear, the fear of money? Often what stands between you and that fear is a simple question around money. Can you afford to do this right now? Now, money shows up big time in our lives. This is one of the key aspects that we cover all the way through Financial Freedom University, our relationship with money, our connection with it, our stories around it, our beliefs around it. On top of the technical aspects, we have to create this interwovenness that money is interwoven with our stories around fear, about worthiness, about having it, not having it. Often if it's going to impact your ability to pay for a roof over your head, to put basic food, if your fundamental of the base of Maslow's hierarchy is absolutely going to be put at risk, your security, your access to opportunity, then now is most probably not the right time for you to make that decision. Whatever that decision is, you've got to really get clear about it. You've got to clear, okay, well, what could I do to make sure that my fundamental security and safety isn't at risk? But if it's money you didn't plan to spend right away on your basic survival needs, but you could repay it to yourself later as your wealth expands, as these investments work for you, as you squeeze the juice, as you get close to it, or if you might need to squeeze a bit thin and you just get savvier with your investing, but with some hard work you could make it work. It's time to get quiet and to face your money fears. How creative and resourceful are you being? Are you willing to invest in your own freedom and invest in the asset called you? If there is any way to afford to do this, to make this decision, how could you not do it? And just realize that, I don't have the money is one of the most socially acceptable excuses for people constantly betraying themselves, time and money. And you've got to be careful and go, is this a habit that I have? Yes, I'll do it if I had the money. Yes, I'll do it if I had the time. But do we really stop and go, what is really going on? Why am I not doing the things that I say I want to do? And has this just become a way of being, of another way of self-betrayal? Seriously, can you afford not to do it? I often think of it this way. If it was a life or a death decision and you had to come up with the money, you could do it. Imagine if a friend or a child was desperately ill or something had happened, you had to come up with money to save their life. Would you do it? Would you do it for your own life? And often we've got to really get clear. Some of these decisions you make are life and death decisions. Creating your financial well-being, sorting out this side of life is about your ability to fully live your life. Again, I'll use the example for me making a decision around my marriage. It was a life or death decision because it's about living my life congruently and authentically and doing exactly what needs to be done. So in some ways, key decisions, you really got to get clear. And that's why we do that clarity quadrant going, hey, if this is important to me, I need to find a way. Can you come up with the money knowing that it'll give you what you need to master a lifetime of wealth generation, wealth creation, and give you your freedom? If you dig really deep, you often find the money is right within your grasp. So if money is the fear that's coming up for you, I always said, Get creative. Write down 50 ways of how you could come up with money. What could you sell? What could you offer? What services could you do? What money could you bring in? What money could you liberate? What could you cut away so that you can make this happen? Because often when we're so quick to say, I don't have the time or don't have the money, we don't even allow this extraordinary thing called our brain to come up with solutions. And I'm not saying do 10, don't stop at 20, don't stop at 30, do 50, because this is where we get below the surface level of using creativity. How can we do this? How else? And I use this the whole time with myself. I also use it even when I've got cash available. I'll go, how else could I come up with the money? Because this is also a money skill we'll be going deep in Financial Freedom University, of using our creativity. How can I have what I want in the most empowered and cost-effective way? The first few are easy ones, but the deeper you go, the more profound the solutions. And this is a great practice to have. The more freeing it is to see all the opportunities when we choose to take a whatever it takes approach to the key decisions in our life. It's really important. Not that I can't afford it, but how can I afford it? Such a key distinction in terms of the questions we ask ourselves. Then once you make the decision, you make it right. You take the one step, and when you take it, the universe responds. It's amazing how it does when we make that commitment and we prepared to do what it takes to make it so. Situations, circumstances then tend to realign to support those decisions. Money arrives in the most unexpected ways. Support. It's extraordinary. When I made the decision to buy my place in the bush, it was amazing. When I just had to go, I went through exactly this process and all the should I, shouldn't I? And then when I did, an amazing architect just pitched out from nowhere. There was all sorts of extraordinary circumstances or results to make it the most joyful and extraordinary experience, which leads me to certainty and the role it plays in the law of attraction, the role it plays in your commitment to yourself, the role it plays in talking to your partner or to your spouse. This is the Pygmalion effect. This is the Pygmalion effect of believing in your life, your destiny, the vision of what's possible for you so strongly that you hold that vision and you're not prepared to give up no matter what else goes on around you. And this self-fulfilling prophecy makes it so. For many of you, it's a real debate is not just within yourself, it's also with your partner. Now I get that, and I've got huge compassion for partners, when there's one person wanting to do something and they're going, oh, I don't know whether they can. Maybe they didn't, go through all the World of Wealth trainings. They haven't been on this. Maybe they're not the one dealing with the finances day to day and that stress and anxiety around that. And often sort of saying to him, hey, I want to do this. Let's do this. We've got to be really careful that are we asking for their permission or are we asking for their blessing? It's a real big difference. Remember, nobody else can give you permission for freedom. Nobody else can let you live free. We have to make that choice for ourselves, but we also can't be unconscious about the impact that our choices make on those we love and around us. And so we've really got to also be honest and go, have you maybe let your partner down in the past? Have you made a decision, a commitment? Maybe you've said, hey, I'm going to get fit, and you've hired a personal trainer or got a gym membership, and then you haven't pitched up. Maybe you bought other courses and you haven't used them. Maybe there's times when you haven't had integrity with your word, with yourself or with them. And so maybe there's a reason they're a little bit maybe skeptical of you. Maybe you've let them down before. You may have knowingly or unknowingly demonstrated a pattern that suggests that you're not willing to go the distance, that you're not willing to do the work. And this is really important. Have you created a pattern of believing, of like wanting to do something, yay, but you get into all that octopus on roller skates, woohoo, but you don't actually show up for yourself. This pattern may seem to suggest a limited commitment to them, to you, to the big dream that you're trying to bring into your life. And if they've never been a successful investor as well, if they've never learned how to invest, create assets, if they don't know financially free people who are living and earning off their wealth in a sustainable way, maybe this is also beyond their comfort zone to even know that this is possible. They haven't had exposure to what is available in the world of wealth. And this is all the more reason that if you've got a partner who is skeptical, fearful, uncertain, why you taking this journey to freedom, you need support. You need a mentor. You need a community of like-minded people to help you keep your confidence, to help you do this, because this is one of the most devastating things I see for so many people. They get revved up, they see what's possible. But if your ecosystem, if your community around you has no idea about this, you've got no one to ask questions with, and you've also got people who are they're essentially vomiting their fear of investing in money into your world, it can be really hard to stay centered. And that is why it's also so important you go, okay, do I have that support in my life that helped me stay the course? Now, the next piece is critical, and this is something you want to write down. It's not just useful here in your decision about Financial Freedom University, but in all decision making. You want to, and anything where you need to get your troops rallied around you. Certainty always wins a debate. Your certainty must trump theirs, whether this is your team, your partner, your parents, your spouse, your kids. When you're talking somebody through a decision that you're making with your spouse, with a significant other, with a family member, with a parent, with a sibling, with a friend, you must explain why the time is now, why you will do the work, and why you must do this now. You must explain how you can expedite the transformation, the results, with that proven, toolkit, with this opportunity that you have, with the guidance of a mentor, with the help of a community of like-minded people to help you achieve these results faster, quicker, and get you there. And how it's going to be so much easier and frankly better for your relationship when you have this part of your life sorted, when you have a trusted advisor and community, when you actually know how to have empowered money conversation, where you actually have a plan that you can work with, rather than just hoping it's going to be okay and maybe getting pissed off with each other. This is really, really clear. If you are uncertain and you're seeking the permission from somebody who isn't informed, it's just going to end up in tears. If you've tried and failed, or you started and then stopped, you have to acknowledge that and ask for their support, and actually ask them to hold you accountable for it to be different this time. Set a timeline with measurable goals, with a reward for you both when you pitch up, when you've arrived at these different destinations, when you've consumed that material, when you've come on in. Make this a fun, make this a game, but really this is key. So often we ask our spouse for those permissions, as I said, when really we're really seeking their blessing. So we're unsure of where we want to go, and then we blame our spouse for not being on board with our success if we're wishy-washy and unclear. It's not their job to give us permission. You must be fully on board first. That's why I suggest you go through those clarity questions. And if you're a 6 or above, that's giving you that certainty. You've gone through what's the risks, what's the benefits, what's the payoffs. Use those to give you that certainty. So you've got to be certain for the people around you to believe, and for you to have their support in whatever it is in life. Their belief in you starts with your belief in you. Really important. So what you want is their blessing. Be certain, explain the transformation, why this is important to do now, whatever that choice is, and move forward. And you have to ask yourself, if not you, who? Only you can do the work. Only you can choose freedom. Only you can walk this path for you. And if not now, when? There's no time like the present. Now, these simple new ways of thinking can really help you make a decision about Financial Freedom University, can help you make a decision in any area of your life. But I hope you can see that these are real guiding principles that help you live a truly authentic, wealthy, extraordinary life where you're getting the most from your time, your energy, and your money. When if somebody's asking you to, will you do something with them, ask these questions and really get clear. With every yes and every no, there is a cost. Make sure you make empowered yeses or nos decisively and quickly. Sitting on a fence is absolute agony. I really have no attachment whether Financial Freedom University is a yes or a no to you. Obviously, I would love you to be inside. I'd love to serve you and walk by your side. I'd love to get to know you more. I love the Financial Freedom University community we have, this amazing family we have. I love to see the connections and the transformations of people's lives. So from that side, hell yes. But from you and your side, I want you to know how to make an empowered decision. What I don't want for you is sitting on a fence of indecision, in that agony. And that when we close the doors to Financial Freedom University, you sit there going, should I, shouldn't I? that is not a great place to be. So part of my job, my commitment to you, part of being a powerful mentor and coach is to coach you into making an empowered choice. If you know it's a no, if you're 5 or below, having gone through that process, trust that. Great. I'm still around. You can check in, read the blogs, all the videos we get, but go, okay, cool. I know that. But if there's a lagging down and there's that go through this process, and we also have we have set up. Some of you might go, but Anna, I still just feel I need more information. Great. So we have set up a group of FFU alumni, these amazing FFUs who've been through Financial Freedom University. They're insiders. They know exactly what it entails. Now, these aren't people who work for don't work for the Well Chef. These are alumni of FFU who truly understand what it is like to sit trying to make that decision, and then what was it like for them once they made the decision on the inside. And they have offered to have a conversation with you. So we have a group of alumni available if you want to have a call with some of them. As I say, it's not anyone from the Well Chef staff. There are people on the inside who can tell you what it's like, what it did for them, and hopefully help you even make a decision, a yes or a no. They've got no attachment or incentive to get you inside. They will just share with you. So again, the support team will give you that link. So if that is, key for you, if you're going, hey, I would love to actually speak to an FFU. I'd love to speak to somebody who's inside, who's done the course, the program, who's in there, who understands the community. Get that link. Simongile will post it in the chat facility as well. And you can also find emails with it. We'll also post it in the Wild group. I think it is already posted in there, that link. So have a call. You've got nothing to lose. But don't stay on a fence of indecision. That is self-abuse. So if you know FFU is right for you, if it's a 9 and above, click that link, come on in, stop the indecision. If it's a 5 or below, yay, celebrate that clarity. If it's in between, use the resources that we have to support you and make a decision and go through these questions. So let's just recap on how do you make an informed decision. There is always 4 primary fears that will come up for us. And when we know that these are natural, these are habits, these are things that almost as a society we have, we can go time. I don't have the time. Will I have the time? And we really understand that it's not a time management issue. It's a priority management issue. We give time to the things that we value. We give time to the things where I've got priority. So not being clear on your priorities always leads to a no. What is the impact of not getting this sorted in your life? What will you gain by getting this sorted in your life now? What will I find? What I find is that people create time for what they prioritize. So what are the top 3 priorities in your life right now? In fact, we can only ever focus on the top 3 priorities. I always strip away and I can only ever have 3 sort of projects that I'm focusing on any one time. Right now, my top priority is the FFUers that are starting in, and I can't wait for the next 3 months. They're going to be one of my top priorities, my 3 top priorities. My second priority is my new love that has brought into my life, making space and time and energy, because I know if we don't prioritize it, we won't make time. And if we don't make time, we don't get what we want. And the third is my health, and just continuing to find space where I walk with my dog, I get out into nature. So these are my top priorities. The FFUers, the new love in my life, and continuing to just experience and make space in my life. Those are my top priorities. What are yours? If your priority is to sort out your financial aspect of your life once and for all and get this foundation sorted in your life, then own that, make it a priority, and strip away the other stuff that is preventing you from experiencing that. You see, when you can experience freedom, this will significantly impact all of those ways. When you can see what it is, this will be huge. When you can go, when I have this aspect of my life cleared, what are the benefits to me? Go back to your clarity questions and then ask, what would need to happen for me to make this a priority? So remember, the time issue is never about time. It's about your priority. The second one, money. I can't afford this. It rarely is a money issue. And it's, I don't see the value issue. So I want you to go back and ask, what will transforming this area of your life give you? How will your life be better and different as a result of having investments working for you, having your money flow sorted, being free of debt, you having clarity on your path, knowing how to get more value from the money that flows out of your life? If you don't see value in your life, then there's no priority. Then there's, then it's a priority issue. So again, it's a priority issue because again, we give time and money to the things we value. So always go, I don't yet fully see the value in something if you're using the I can't afford it. And then the spouse, that spouse part, I need to talk to my spouse. Often this excuse is devised as a clever reason to not make a choice. And often it's legit. So get the details, get really clear. Remember, when you have that conversation, your clarity must be clear first. You can't ask them for permission for the things you want in life. It's not fair and it's not their job. And then the final barrier is often ourselves. Can I rely on myself to be up? Have I let myself down in the past? Do you need to do a bit of forgiveness and letting go of that and go, how will this be different? What do I need to do to make this so? And one of the things we do in the very first induction call, the welcome call, is the first call we have before we even dive into trainings. The training is available for you as soon as you sign up, but the very first live call we have, I walk you through your own success path. You can see exactly what you have and you haven't do, so you know where your focus needs to be. But I also walk you through a process of understanding how do you perform best? We all perform best with different criteria. What are the criteria that you need to put in place for your success? What are the parameters and the precursors for your success? For some people, it will have an accountability partner. For other people, it will be a coach. For some, it will be making a commitment. For some, it will be carving out chunks of time and putting a schedule in place. But I take you through a process to go, what are my precursors for success? When I look at where I've been successful in my past and I really examine it, you see, success leaves clues. And we can go back and look at that, and then we can apply those on the new things we're doing in life. This is key. I've been in the personal development world for years and years and years. I worked with part of Tony Robbins' team, many others. I'm a NLP master practitioner and trainer. I'm fascinated by the neuroscience and behavioral economics. And one of the things that I am really great at has been this journey of mastering myself, and I still am. And so much of that is brought into how do we keep expanding ourselves as the greatest asset we have. So I hope that has been useful. We've had a great session here, and dive on in and you use this process to make a decision about FFU 2021, but also in all aspects of your life. Because the faster we can make decisions and move forward and get off those barbed wire fences of devastating indecision and go, yes, no, great, move forward, yes, no, move forward, letting go the belief that, there shouldn't be fear, there shouldn't be uncertainty. Of course, there's going to be fear. I mean, in fact, if you're living free at the front edge of your life, it's exhilarating and alive. If there's no anxiety, if there's no fear, if there's no adrenaline in your life, then you're emotionally deeply wrapped in your comfort zone. And that should be something you should be worrying around. So well done, and come on in. Brilliant. And let's see, Ilse says, I actually see the value, but if I don't have 3,000 a month extra, at once or 30,000, then what do I do? So Ilse, I'd suggest go and ask yourself those 50 questions. What can I do to get the money? Could I offer more services? Could I sell something that I currently have? One of the big things we do in Squeeze Juice is, how do we get rid of the stuff in our life? Put on stuff on Facebook Marketplace. How do I declutter? Decluttering is a fantastic way to liberate money in our lives. What else could I do? Where could I borrow? What are the options? Go through and ask yourself 50 questions. I don't know the details of your life. And so, but we need to, when we're prepared to stop and go, okay, I'm not going to stop coming up with ideas until I've got the 50. We force our brain to get creative. And this is super, super exciting. And Victoria said, this is a great tool to have for everything. Absolutely it is. And I really do. I go through that, and let me just show you again that quality quadrant, that clarity quadrant. What's the potential risk of doing this? What's the potential benefit and payoff of doing this? And what's the risk of not doing this? And what's the potential benefit and payoff of not doing this? That's often the one where I find that I'm hiding, I have a love-hate with exercise. I love walking. I can do those exercises, but to do core exercise. So I've hired a personal trainer, because I know that, that's my precursor success. In areas where I've got a big resistance, I get somebody in, I get that support, I get that accountability. In other areas, I know where have I got resistance, and those areas where I've got resistance to stuff, I then go, hey, this is a good idea to do it. But I really have to get clear, what's the potential benefit and payoff for me not doing it? Hey, I get to sort of sit and not feel uncomfortable. I don't get sweaty. I don't get stiff. What's the benefit of me not doing it? I can eat more chocolates, whatever that is. But there's a point, and I have such resistance almost every time. Well, so here's my confession. Today, we're busy in the launch, and I had a great excuse. I was incongruous today. I didn't stand up for myself. I canceled a personal training session. And this stuff happens. And so I've got to come back to this and go, and let's get clear on this. What is your commitment to your health, to your fitness, to your energy, to your core? And what are the benefits of it? Let's get really clear, drop into it. This is why you do it. You feel great when you've done it. And I have to come back and have a big, okay, I'm on a 9. Well, that means, put on your big girl panties and do what it takes. And so, this is what I'll say, be careful to not use this as a tool for self-recrimination and judgment and beating yourself up about it. But it really is about going, okay, how do I use these tools to move forward? And if we also know that something's not a priority for us and it's a no, but because we feel we should make that choice, also be careful of shoulds. Let's talk about, health or a business or whatever it is. Shoulding all over ourselves is not a decision-making tool. In fact, it just takes us into shame and contraction. And this is part of being able to really live free. Is going, there's a whole lot of shoulds that other people might be shoulds, but I go, hell no. I think many of you know, I've shared before, I live in a beautiful home. My home is 2 bedrooms. And a lot of people go, but Anne, you're a multi-millionaire in whatever currency you want to use in the world. Shouldn't you be living in a big fancy mansion? And I go, no, that's not my truth. That's not wealthy for me. I love the fact that I use every square inch, every meter of space in my life. I love the fact that my footprint is clear in the world. I love the fact that I also have a beautiful bush place. Wealthy for me is not having a big mansion. I'm really clear on what wealthy is for me. And so being able to make these decisions congruently and proud of being able to stay with them, literally, it's in every aspect of your life. That you might go, and that seems weird, but this is about going, no, I don't buy into anybody else's story of what my life should look like, what I should be doing, what it means to be a good girl, what it means to be wealthy, what it means to be polite, what it means to be that. To hell with that. We want to live our lives free. Free is being able to stay and know that this is my truth. And hopefully I'm sharing this with you as a tool set that once you've done that, you can go, this is my truth. So maybe there's a part of you saying, I should be doing Financial Freedom University. But if your commitment is below 5 and there's no real desire and you've looked at these things, hell, let that be okay. That's absolutely fine. This is not about letting ourselves off a hook. We don't have to be on a ruddy hook. It's about being congruent with ourselves and knowing that when we make decisions that are aligned with who we are, that's where we're going to have success. So I hope you've really had loads of fun. So yes, she says, when does FFU 2021 start? Well, it's already available. The modules are in there. But then the live training course, the first one we have is on the 10th of December. That's 10th of December is our induction call, I think. Yes, now you're asking me, there we go. Yes, it is. The 10th of December is the call. But for all of you, the schedule of the calls are in the private and closed Facebook group for the FFU 2021 peeps. It's also in the modules in the FFU training portal. For you as FFUers, you already are, Sapreet, I know you are. If you haven't yet clicked that link to get the reminders for that and get this, just contact support@thewellchef.com, and the amazing Sibongile and the support team will help you there. Great. So dive on in. So Renee has said, I'm a virtual therapist, and so I couldn't make the entire session. I'm coming in late. Will there be a recording? Absolutely. So what's great with Facebook Lives, the recording is here. As soon as we close, it will be rendered and you can watch this again. So I hope this has been useful for you. Jump on in and make an empowered decision and use this as a great tool set in your life. Bye, everyone.